All right, good morning, everybody. Good to see the early guys jump in right on time. It's good to see everybody. I'm dialing in from a beautiful Pretoria. The weather is great today. If you can, as you come in the chat, let us know where you are calling from, where you're dialing from. Let us know in the chat your name and perhaps what city you are in. You can even share with us your company name as well, if that helps. So utilize the chat. Let us say hello in the chat. Tell us your name, tell us your city, and where you are joining from. It will be good to introduce ourselves as we come in. We're going far and wide. I see Devon already in Cape Town. So far and wide, we're going with this one. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Like I said, my name is Brian. I am from a very beautiful Pretoria today. We haven't had these kind of beautiful days in a while, but looking really, really good. So good morning, Malibongwe, city of Johannesburg. Yeah, so as you come in, tell us your name and let us know in the chat what city you're from and perhaps even how you're feeling. I'm really excited to have this webinar today. It's a case study, how Prosus transformed its global reporting. If that's the one you came for, then you're definitely in the right place. If you stumbled across the wrong one, stick around. You might learn a thing or two. It's all about digital transformation and how it ensures compliance with governance and legislation in partnership with Insight Software. So good morning, good morning. I see a few of you, a lot of familiar names today. This is always good to have that. We've got a good audience that's coming in. Hi, Yotasha Aku, Global Finance Controller from Uderto, Amsterdam. Wow, you guys are, I must say, Lorraine, you guys are far and wide. Amsterdam, huh? Even Limpopo is in the house, so this is all good to see. Thank you, guys. Please select as well. One of the things that you have to do apparently with the new Zoom is to select everyone when you send your message, so we can all see it and we can all interact with it. So I'll give it a couple more minutes as we let a few more people come in to this really exciting session on the case study of how Prosus transformed its global reporting. Really, really excited to have this. So once again, good morning. My name is Brian. I'm the community manager at CFO South Africa. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this webinar, which is brought to you, as I said before, in partnership with Insight Software. When a business faces significant growth and expands globally, the challenges for the office of the CFO, sometimes even the CTO or the CHRO, grow along with it. This office now needs to be able to deal with an increased volume of data and navigate continuous changes and governance and reporting requirements. I'm sure you're all familiar with this, constant ping pong up with governance and rules, etc. And then boom, comes COVID and throws in another curveball. So in these circumstances, completing successfully in a digital transformation that supports your organization using data more effectively and driving powerful business decisions becomes even more essential. And I think this is why a lot of you are here. We want to find out really what's happening. So for today, I'm joined by Moveshen Moodley, who's a group controller at Prosus, a global internet group and one of the largest technology investors in the world, who will reveal how the group defined their finance journey by taking one step at a time, focusing on data, processes, and systems. So they've gained more speed, control, and time, I think, right? You get more time to focus on real value-driving initiatives of the business. So they're ensuring compliance while they're at it with governance and legislation across different regions in which they operate. Moveshen will also joined by Lorraine Fenter. She's the Director of Disclosure Management at Insight Software, and together they will present these 3 critical steps, and there will be a couple of bonuses. There might even be more that you will need to focus on how to work this digital transformation journey. So good to see everybody. And again, we will have a Q&A session at the end, but if there's a pressing question, please feel free to pop it in the chat. I've got a team with me that will help me extract some of those questions that you may have. And we'll be able to address our esteemed panelists. It's not every day that we get this opportunity to have some really top individuals helping us through this quagmire that is digital transformation. All right, so I think our numbers are looking good. I think most people have already pitched up, and good morning to you too, Itai in Pretoria. So I'm going to start with Lorraine. Lorraine, perhaps a bit about yourself to kick us off. You can do a quick intro, and then what you do, and we can move on to Moveshen, who will also do the same. Lorraine, if you can unmute, and over to you. Good morning. How are you doing?
Morning. Fine. Good, and you, Brian? So now you're going to force me to give my age away, because you can't really say what to do if you don't give your age away, right? So morning, everybody. Thank you very, very much for joining us today. Giving my age away, I've been in the EPM space for about 19 years, working with companies like Naspers and their digital transformation journey. Of that 19 years, I've basically been spending 9 years on disclosure management. And for my sins, my journey started with where you guys find yourself today, in the Office of Finance. So I was a financial controller for about 10 years for an international networking company, with responsibilities on cross-regional being Africa, Middle East, Greece, Turkey, and Israel. Now we're part of the Insight Software family, and we really focus around the needs of the Office of Finance. So that's like a big thing, the needs of the Office of Finance, ever ending. We help finance teams all over the world. So we're a global company, about 25,000 clients, and we really help them around automating their processes, which results ultimately in saving time. The one thing you can't buy is time. So we give back about 50% of their time to allow finance folk to spend time on analysis. We do this through agile solutions that we provide and access detailed ERP data. We know it starts all with the ERP, and we need to be able to take that data and provide critical data analysis to the Office of Finance. Through things like accelerate decision-making, try and predict revenue growth, if that's possible, especially with something like COVID that hits us that we've never seen before, and to develop meaningful, actionable insights. That's that IT jargon we always throw at you guys. Specifically at Naspers with Moveshen, with Naspers and their subsidiaries, CDM has been delivering the automation and streamlining of the narrative financial reporting processes at the company. So things like your AFS, your statutory reporting. Think about things that you don't see external to the company, like, in preparation for the audit. And that we've been doing since about 2015. Like the world don't change around us. 2017, we added on the CIPC XBRL, which was a nice journey. And now kind of going on the journey in 2020 with the ESMA filing for Prosus. So during this webinar today, we'll discuss in more detail Naspers' digital transformation journey and their success story on how they reached operational excellence, enabled digital intelligence, and influence strategy with the certain CDM solution. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for that, Lorraine. Moveshen, morning. Your turn.
Yeah, good morning, Brian. Good morning, everyone. I think, we first of all, just want to say, I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to me share my experiences of our ongoing finance transformation journey at Prosus. I know Lorraine mentioned Naspers, but for those of you who don't know, Naspers, Prosus, effectively the same thing, two different companies, but part of the same group. So yeah, my name is Moveshen Moodley. I'm the Group Financial Controller of Prosus, based in Johannesburg. I joined the group about a year ago, and my roles and responsibilities include managing the group FP&A team, group consolidation team, statutory reporting and technical, as well as the group financial systems team. These teams effectively manage the group's budgeting and forecasting processes, the interim and year-end reporting processes, as well as preparing the board reports on a quarterly basis. In addition to this, of course, we also manage and support the group from the use of our central financial systems. Prior to moving to Prosus, I spent 18 years at Sasol, another client of Certain, where I spent 10 years at a business unit level, 5 years in investor relations, which included 2 years as the Chief Investor Relations Officer for the group, and then the last 2 years as the Senior Vice President, Financial Control Services. During this time, I managed similar teams that I do now at Prosus. And when I left Sasol, we were also driving towards a new look finance function, and we're busy implementing OneStream to use in conjunction with the currently deployed Certain CDM. Most of you will be aware of the Prosus Group, but if I may, just a quick intro. We are a global internet group and one of the largest technology investors in the world. Our companies operate and invest in countries and markets across the world with long-term growth potential. We believe in the power of local, backed by global scale, and look for opportunities to address big societal needs in markets where we see the greatest growth potential. We focus on core segments, including classifieds, food delivery, payments, and fintech, as well as e-tail. Through our ventures segment, we invest in the next wave of growth segments, such as our recently graduated EdTech segment. And we also invest in key social and internet platforms, which includes our investment in Tencent.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Moveshen. So a lot of detail, loads of experience. I think I've got the two, most important people and right people to take us through this journey. So I'm going to start off, and thanks for putting out that foundation. I'm going to go to Lorraine quickly. Something that you mentioned about Senet, it was acquired by Insight Software. Before we get into the meat of our conversation, can you tell us a bit more about Insight Software and the impact that acquisition had on Senet and the product and its clients?
Sure. So we, Insight Software announced the acquisition of Certain on the 7th of January. So 2021 started with a big bang. We joined the big family within Insight Software. And essentially within our company, we've got three group solution pillars: capital management, controllership, and FP&A. So we've got three very broad outgoing offerings to the Office of Finance. Certain CDM is grouped in the controllership pillar with solutions for close, consolidate, and report. We were quite fortunate with the acquisition. We were identified as one of the growth products within the Insight Software family. What this really means is life continued for our customers as if nothing changed, except now they had Big Brother kind of holding our hand and making sure things happen the way that we promised them that it would happen. So we have seen a large investment in our product development and in our support teams for our customers, a massive increased focus on clients and client successes, and a really strong dedicated roadmap that's been sent out to the market. So we've got roadmap items such as Certain 365 with web collaboration. Everybody works at home. Everybody wants to be able to collaborate remotely. So that's something that we're bringing to the market. It's already in the solution today with enhancements coming. A one-word document, which will allow you enhancements around the deployment and support of your report. And then obviously one of the things that struck me that was unique is we're the only global disclosure management solution with a locally hosted data center in Johannesburg and our DR in Cape Town to further comply with local requirements such as POPI. So what Insight Software brought is they really focus around what is the customer needs, what is the local market needs, and let's address those. And same as what Moveshen said, think local, backed by global.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, think local, backed by global. I like that. The other thing that I really like is, you got to deliver on your promises, right? This is what, people come to an organization like this, Thanks for that. So thanks for those great intros. Right. So now, I want to get really into the meat of today's case study. But before that, I want to just run one more quick thing just to get a sense of the type of audience that I have today. And for that, I'm going to run a quick poll just to see. Please, audience, if you can, please participate. You'll probably see it coming up shortly now. And it's really about a finance transformation journey. And the question is, have you embarked on one? Have you embarked on a finance transformation journey yourselves? It's good to see where people are, and perhaps you're here because you want to learn from other people that have already embarked. Perhaps you want to find out, what happens once you have embarked on it, and hopefully all that will get addressed today. So if we can get close to the 70 mark, I'll be very happy. 70% of us can participate in this poll. It'll give my guests a real good sense of who's here and perhaps how to address and respond to your questions appropriately. Push it a bit more. Come on, guys. We've got a few more people that need to. If we can get to 70%, I'll be very happy. Okay, so there you have it. Your question is, have you embarked on a finance transformation journey? Please select your options. You either have or you haven't. It's one of those where there's no, I don't know if it's a finance transformation journey or not, right? It's you will know once you're there. Okay, we're looking good at 65%. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds. Going once. So the bulk of you, we're looking at close to 60% odd. I'm going to end the poll now. I'm going to end the poll. So the bulk of you are saying 60%. We have embarked on a journey. Lorraine, does that surprise you?
Not at all, Brian. We've seen this with a lot of our clients, starting with the finance transformation journey. It is the whole process around organizations having spent a lot of structure and money around the back-end engines, collecting the ERP-based data, but moving forward to have finance consistently keep up with the requirements of the business. And that, to me, is really what leads organizations into finance transformation journeys.
Yeah, absolutely. Moveshen, there's still 40% of the audience that haven't been on this journey. Is that also a surprise? It's fairly large, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is fairly large, but there's also many reasons why a company may choose to go along this journey. I think for me, the important thing is just where the company is at in terms of maturity and cycles. But at the end of the day, I always believe that no matter what happens in a business, it all ends up in the numbers. And, the number of deliverables on a finance team is getting more and more every day. And I think that there will come a time where people realize that we can't do things manually anymore. We need to automate. Else, we're just going to have to throw resources at it. And that comes with cost. So let's see where we head towards the next question, Brian, and we can see what's the rationale for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some interesting numbers that are coming up. I am going to, and this is perhaps for all those people that said, the 60% that said, yeah, of course we are. And I'm going to throw in another question for you guys quickly. So how many of you have embarked on a finance transformation journey? The reasons, why have you? Why have you, perhaps is the question of how, how many of you have embarked on a finance transformation journey, and what was the reason you embarked on it? Clarifying that question. What is the reason that you've given to embark on this? Well, you're doing this to save costs, reduce headcount. Perhaps you want to digitize to allow remote work and collaboration. Remote work is a thing. I'm currently working from home right now. You want to enable faster decisions. Perhaps it's all the above. Let's see, again, I'll see if we can get to that 65-70% mark. What are the reasons for all those that said yes? What are your reasons for going on to this transformation journey? What are the reasons that you are going on the transformation journey? It's interesting here. I mean, we're getting to 50% of us that have already done, and we are pretty much split. So this is quite interesting for me. So what are the reasons that you have been given, perhaps by the business, or perhaps if you are involved in the finance transformation of your teams, you want to save costs and reduce headcount, you want to digitize to allow for remote work and collaborate with your colleagues and clients, etc. Perhaps you just want to enable faster decisions to be made. Perhaps it's all of the above. All of the above. If I had one more person, I'll probably hit the 60% mark. Going once, I'm gonna close off this poll. What are the reasons that you have gone for? There we go. We had 2 people and we hit 61%. Okay. I'm going to end that poll, and again, Moveshen, I'm going to start with you this time. This is a lot more interesting. The reasons are, yeah, we know we're split almost, 4 ways here. What can you pick out from this, from your experience?
Yeah, so I think Brian, there's many reasons. I would have probably thought D would have been the preferred choice. There's so many reasons that companies embark on these journeys. But yeah, it's just company specific. So it is interesting to see. And like I said, I think all of those could have been combined into one to be the rationale for moving in this direction.
Yeah, and Lorraine, perhaps this says that again, to Moveshen's point, there's a myriad of reasons why people or businesses are going onto this transformation journey, which often I believe might make your job a bit harder, or is it easier? Does it make it harder or easier given the multiple myriad of reasons that people go on?
Sure, Brian, I think it really depends on the company and their reason for finance transformation. A big thing that we've seen change is, especially since COVID hit last year, is companies want to go on this journey. They needed to find a way to digitize, find remote working and collaboration. We're so used to a community, a finance community, to pop over to the desk next to me, quickly go and ask them what the number is, email somebody a file, and we all go and sit around it and work together. And suddenly that went away because we all went home. We all had to find a way of remote working. And furthermore, we had to find doing that in control and governance. With that, the bit that kind of, I think, through suppliers like myself was, how do we do this remotely? How do we scope? How do we train? How do we deploy? How do we make sure people actually know what the solution is going to do for them? Fortunately, being Insight Software or being certain CDM, we've been supporting companies even in the US from South Africa for many years. We really are a global team that support local organizations. But really with the remote work and collaboration, I think that's been the biggest challenge for companies to be able to deliver on where they are.
All right, so very, very interesting. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that, the audience. We will get back to a bit of that a bit later, but now, I really want to hear from Moveshen, your NASPA's Prosus story and why you started this transformation journey, right? And particularly given the context that we're in now, which is COVID and the challenges that comes with. Tell us a bit about that. Why did you get into this onto this road?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I think it goes without saying that 2020 was a tumultuous year in many ways, with a global pandemic and an economic downturn that impacted exactly the people who were the most vulnerable. But it was an inflection point for the tech sector. Tech has been growing in importance over the last 20 years, but gained even more momentum in the past year. Rising to this moment when most needed by consumers, technology-based services improved significantly over the last year. The pandemic accelerated the adoption of many behaviors, from video conferencing and online shopping to remote working and distance learning. We've actually seen recent data that has shown in some of these verticals, consumers and companies have vaulted at least 5 years forward in the adoption of these technological services in just a matter of 4 to 8 weeks. In these cases, and in many others, the pandemic has also accelerated trends of this adoption. Shopping was steadily moving online. Payments were slowly going digital. Online learning was slowly becoming more prevalent, and more people were working from home, at least some of the time. And if you look at where we are today, these are all common behaviors in most of the countries around the world. These outcomes have led to our group growing at a rapid rate and drove the need for a financial transformation whereby systems, processes, and a data strategy would need to evolve and be fit for the future. What we stood back and understood was that we needed to keep pace, not just with what we produced for C-suite management, but also how we produced it. And I think that's very important. Our definition of victory was clear. We wanted to be an integrated, efficient, and innovative value-adding business partner, And we wanted to achieve this by making a fundamental change in how the finance function operates by delivering services and information that better meets the needs of our partners. This will enable faster decisions by our key stakeholders, the group CEO and CFO. We also aspire to revolutionize the way we manage our financial function and the associated processes, including internal controls and financial reporting, whilst we are remaining agile in a fast-changing economic and business world. And that's the reason why we embarked on this journey.
Yeah, thanks for that, Moveshen. Adding some kind of clarity to the audience and why you guys have gone onto this transformation journey. While you're talking there, I picked out a few things that you said. You mentioned the importance of being agile, right, in your financial reporting. And this is something that we're seeing become more essential for many companies. I think we started to see some of it come out in the poll questions. So what have you focused on to improve your finance function? What are the things that you targeted specifically on your journey?
Yeah, perfect. So we started the project about a year ago. Currently, we are busy implementing our key project under Wave 1, which I will elaborate on a bit later. In addition to this, we've also been focusing on the building blocks that will assist us in propelling the function forward. And those building blocks are around data, how it flows and how it is governed, processes with a specific focus on how these could be redesigned to be more efficient and following best practices. And finally, systems to ensure that they will work for us and bring automation and efficiencies to the overall function. A critical part of this journey was ensuring that we understood the business needs and how all these elements fit together, as the key outcome for this journey was ensuring that the finance function continues to serve as this value-adding business partner now, and most importantly, into the future. If there is one thing that the last 18 months have taught us, it is that the past is definitely not an indication of the future, and flexibility is going to be critical. There were two other components to this exploratory phase that we embarked on. Firstly, we needed to understand the business operating model and understand the roles and deliverables that are expected from the group finance team. Secondly, we need to understand the role of our current service providers. What is the functionality that they bring to the table, and how will this fit in with our aspirational state? At Prosus, we follow a very decentralized business model, which has a lean center and autonomous segments. And so this model also helped shape the journey we were on. So what was the first step that we took on this process? It was actually an introspection into our current reality, and then to look at each element of, once again, systems, data, and processes to identify opportunities for improvement. Now that we set our North Star and understood our shortcomings, we followed a methodical approach to create a journey map to ensure we were all aligned on how we would go about achieving this milestone. This was critical as the interdependencies between the various streams, implementation windows, given the nature of the financial calendar, which I'm sure you all can attest to, and the role to be played by our current and future service providers, needed to be understood and factored in. So taking all this into account, we decided to approach the journey in 3 waves. At a high level, Wave 1 comprised the implementation of one cloud-based solution that drives one source of reporting. Wave 2 is a focus on FP&A initiatives that leverage data and data analytics. And Wave 3 is effectively an ongoing journey, making sure that we keep pace with developments and ensure that we are fit for the future. So if I can take a moment just to delve into some further detail around these waves. Wave 1 was the first step change, and this started, as I mentioned, just over 12 months ago. A decision taken to replace our finance systems by implementing a new consolidation system. This was the cornerstone of the journey and would lead us to reducing the complexity of the financial systems architecture. The focus here was ensuring that the new system would enable at least the following: one source for consolidation, budgeting and planning, and operational reporting. A system that would support both legal and segmental consolidation with aligned structures. One directional flow of information with automation of calculations, and an additional level of detail to support FP&A, such as non-financial KPIs. The other important aspect, Brian, and you touched on this at the start, was from a governance lens, ensuring reliance on ITGCs and application controls over group consolidation and reporting. Given the decentralized operating model that I referred to earlier, we seized the opportunity to also look to govern standard definitions across the group in terms of some of our unique financial definitions, as well as providing a standardized platform for reporting. During this wave, we also started to look forward and started investigating and implementing incremental enhancements in the group statutory reporting and FP&A space. We started to lay the foundation and prioritize investigations into the second step change, which I will discuss under wave 2. Another major consideration was our cloud strategy and how new technology would be able to align with this cloud strategy. All of these considerations aligned with how finance as a business partner had to rapidly adapt to a new way of working, collaboration, and how we report on our business performance. So maybe before I move into the second wave of the journey, it is important to pause here and talk about the role of our service providers along this journey. We know that we cannot achieve this type of change without them. And while we leverage the work of our current service providers, we are also aware that transforming their service offering is just as critical for them so that they can ensure that they support us going forward. One of these key service providers to the Prosus Group is Certain, the disclosure management solution that Lorraine discussed earlier, and they are part of the Insight Software family.
So thanks for that, Moveshen. It's quite interesting, and I see that I actually encourage the audience to throw their questions as things come up. There is a question that did come through from Devon, and it relates to extended P&A, right? And whether that is something that you're using, but I'll get to that. So while you perhaps think about that question, I want to go to Lorraine quickly. We haven't forgotten about Lorraine. I want to go to Lorraine quickly with the next question, and Moveshen, while you look at that question that's in the chat that's put by Devon regarding extended P&A. So Lorraine, what are some of the reasons your clients are giving to you with regarding the need to switch to digital reporting or start a digital transformation journey? What are they coming with? Why do they need to do this?
I'm going to start with maybe stepping back and say we obviously had some key requirements that companies came to us pre-COVID. And then post-COVID, since we've hit March last year. So I would say one of the biggest requirements since COVID and lockdown last year was really the ability to complete the reporting process whilst allowing for remote working. And I've touched on it before, and I'm going to touch on it many, many times. We have had so many companies approach us to say they need remote collaboration. They need to be able to streamline the reporting process and really allow finance to get back to analyzing and add value and not spend that manual time around copy and pasting and updating page numberings and updating note numberings, things that we take for granted. But finance people spend a lot of time in their process to get those things right, those irritating little things. Pre-COVID, we saw things like, I want to be able to have narrative integration with any of my graphs, any of my tables, any of my numbers. So as my underlying data update, I want to be able to have my graphs update in my report output. I don't want to copy and paste from Excel to Word or from Excel into PowerPoint or anywhere else. Multi-layer and matrix-based review during the report cycle. Have a proper workflow to promote the section of the work that you're working on to the next level. Taking away the disconnected manual processes, being able to source and integrate from the underlying source systems, And very importantly is being able to track those low-level last-minute changes. Nothing like someone coming to you an hour before you have to go publish your book, and there's 3 numbers that change, but you have to read through 250 pages to find the 3 numbers, right? Transparency into the process and numbers with version control, kind of tying back to that governance point that Moveshen made. And I think probably the biggest thing from a finance team, and I don't necessarily think, you know, our CEOs and senior management appreciate this last point, but really saving time to avoid the compressed deadlines, the late nights for the finance teams. You know, they want to have an integration to their design house, to their typesetters. I have not seen finance folk get so unhappy and tired because it's year end, they have to produce the book and everything stops, life stops, everything stops because the book needs to come out. And that's really where they want us to help them, is saving that time to take that away.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to be able to save that time. It sounds like a good thing to do, right? And focus on the things that really are strategy driven and driving the business forward. Lorraine, I want to stay with you quickly. And perhaps could you speak a bit more about the approach to the development of inside software technology? And I'm speaking here of certain disclosure management, specifically CDM. You know, how do you identify or support the CFO's pain points during this journey? And CFOs here in bold, because I know there's a few of them might be on this call, but there's definitely a lot of finance people on this call.
So, you know, as I mentioned before, with CDM, we automate and streamline the reporting process. So we normally start with a requirement that the CFO says, help me automate and streamline external reporting. CDM, we do a little bit more. We do external, we do internal, we do regulatory, we do XBRL. But the window into your house is your external reporting. Those report packs that sits on the company's investor pages, you know, their results presentations, that's really where they want us to start focusing on. Now, we start with what Moveshen mentioned, and it's what is their current reality? What is the as-is process in terms of what they're going through today? So we'll do a walkthrough around what is your last reporting period? Where were your pain points? What caused the issues? Understanding a company's environment, their reporting processes starts with data from your ERP, what goes into your trial balance, the process to finalizing up to the point where your glosses are with your design house and your typesetters. What is your current regulatory requirements? And also, what is your growth strategy? Because that will play into what is the right solution for you to move forward in terms of the pain points. Now, how do we support them in those pain points? We'll start with things like, you know, what do you like and dislike of your current process? We all have an opinion around what those processes are and what the aspects would be for them to change or improve that current process. People are really, really important in this process. So while we digitize, while we automate things, we need to understand who are the team members involved in the process and also the key decision makers that would be responsible for the deployment of the new solution. And then the one thing that we need to look, and Moveshen touched on it, you know, we don't want to necessarily always be cutting edge. Is there any of your peers that has best practices that you're seeking at adopting? You know, how are the peers doing it? Do we need to adopt any of those? Looking backwards is important, but we also need to look forward. So we'll document as is, and then we start documenting and focusing on the to-be solution to ensure that we can address things like our companies like Naspers changing their data source on us, ensuring that we have the integration requirements with multiple data sources. We all would like to think everything comes from one place. In reality today, most organizations don't have it coming from one place to where Moveshen is striving to be in future. It's important to pause here for a second, and I'm going to step back and say, well, so why do we focus so much on that? Is if we learn about your business, we learn about you and the people in the beginning, we don't park that once we've gone live. We're continuously doing that. So we incorporate in our approach an ongoing relationship with our clients. After every reporting period, we review what happened, what worked great. You know, we want to continuously keep our eye on what is happening within the business, you know, what potential new requirements are out there that people are starting to talk about that our clients need to think about. You know, new external things, certainly that Naspers or Prosus has walked through. The ESMA ESAF requirement for Prosus, it's a new thing that happened in Europe. The moment we heard about it, we went to our clients, our dual listed clients, and we said, listen, this is something on the horizon. It's not there today, it's not there tomorrow, but it's coming in 2021. We need to get you ready for that. The increased focus on ESG and sustainability reporting, that's one big thing that companies are focusing on today. So we'll work really closely with our CFOs to address their requirements today, but also to continue addressing their requirements as they change. We need to be able to adapt. So picking on Naspers, Moveshen, their change was from their current consolidation system to OneStream. So essentially what we needed to do was to say, how do we ensure sourcing data from OneStream, and how can we closely work with the OneStream implementation partner, Sonam International, to understand what comes out of OneStream and what we need to bring into our solution. So we need to be able to support Naspers as they go live on this wave in their digital transformation. And what makes us unique in the back end is we have finance people deploying our solutions. We look at the underlying solutions. We understand that it's all about the data. Everything happens in the numbers, like Moveshen said. And we leverage familiar tools, Office. So the uptake on those solutions are quite quick.
Yeah, thanks for that. And now I'm always looking backwards, right? Because that's where you kind of find the lessons, right? But it's always good to keep looking forward to, and data helps with that. And Moveshen, when you were speaking, I know that you're using the Insight Software's certain solution, which is a specific disclosure management solution, which Lorraine has touched on, which is awesome. But I also know that there are loads of different tools out there that help with this kind of reporting that we're talking about, and some companies are actually using very specific solutions and sometimes most of them are also still very traditional and manual processes. So before I come back to you, Moveshen, with a question, I want to go back to the audience quickly and just speaking about some of the tools and solutions that they may or may not be using. I want to get an idea of where they are, at least with another poll, and what are they using to generate some reports. So another poll, audience, for you. If we can again hit that 65% mark that you did last time, would be great. Here the question is, how do you produce your reports? Is it a mix of narrative data and images? What tools are you using? It's okay not to know. And I know 2 of us already, perhaps now 3, don't know, which is okay. So that's your next question. So disclosure management tool, perhaps MS Office tools, just to cut and paste. And as a finance person myself, I'm a stickler for the Excel spreadsheet, by the way, just putting it out there. It never goes away. It's always next to that other tool. And I think Lorraine is probably cringing as I say this, but that's how it works. It's like,
not if it's in your tool, Brian, not if it's in your product.
So I need to stop using my Excel spreadsheet and use Lorraine Fenter's thingy-majig instead, right? Okay, good. 54% of us have completed. If we can get it up, please participate. What are you using? It's okay not to know, but you can select I don't know. That's fine. It'll just give us a sense of what we have, what's out there. What are the challenges that businesses are experiencing? And sometimes these answers help us kind of get there. I'm going to close the poll in a second. So this is your last chance to participate. Lorraine, are you surprised? MS Office tools, cut and paste, 70% of us are using this.
Not surprised at all, Brian. And that's why I said it's if the solution you use has got Office embedded, like fortunately we do, it helps that journey. But my 10 years in finance, I still love my Office tools. If someone says to me, use a product, but by the way, you're going to look into that product via Office, I'm happy. So not at all surprised around where companies are finding themselves today.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that surprised as well, right? I think it's a journey, and I think this is why we we have, businesses like yourselves to help us kind of get onto that next phase of how we operate. Moveshen, I want to come to you quickly. Can you give me more insights into how you have Insight Software fits into the transformation project at NASPAS, or perhaps call it Prosus?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I think let me share a couple of perspectives on that before I get back to our journey and where we are now in that process. So as Lorraine mentioned, we've made significant strides with the certain team over the last many years, and we wanted to build on that great work that was done. As a result, what we did was we ensured that right from the outset of our journey, our design document catered for early discussions with the certain team. And we wanted to assess how their new service offerings could continue to add value in our processes and along our journey. I think it would be remiss of me not to mention at least some of the reasons why we've built a strong relationship with the team over the years. And just a couple of those. So we feel extremely valued as a customer of the certain team. They're always willing to help and resolve our issues as soon as possible, irrespective of the time of day. They've been extremely proactive. I know Lorraine just touched on it. We obviously do ESEF filing, or we will from this financial year, FY22. That's due to our listing on the Euronext exchange. And they brought that to the table. In fact, we're in the process of doing a draft filing, just to make sure that we're ready when we actually have to do the first formal one. So I think it's those little things and pieces of information that they bring to the table that make sure that we're on top of things. And I think most importantly, there's been open lines of communication from day one, and they always seem to put our needs first and propose solutions that are actually at our convenience. And I think those are a couple of key items that I just wanted to call out. Maybe just in terms of some of the benefits that we're seeing from CDM. Speed and flexibility, so bringing data from various systems together for one source of the truth. I know we've said this word, one source of the, these words, one source of the truth a couple of times, but it is actually the future, right? It's all about data in one place, making sure you tap into that from various areas, and that it's all accurate and the integrity is being maintained. Secondly, allowing users to collaborate in an online environment where workflow guides the approval process, especially with that changes in the nature of working remotely since we have been since February 2020. And then finally, ensuring compliance and control. As finance a function, governance, compliance, those words will always be with us. And I think the approvals of individual sections of the overall financial and regulatory statements with a detailed audit trail that their software provides, I think is critical for peace of mind, at least for me and for my bosses. So I hope that provides some color in terms of the relationship with the certain team, but also the benefits that we've seen as a result of using their software.
Yeah, absolutely, Moveshen. And it is indeed, when it comes to data, it's one source of truth, right? So we're hoping that we're putting the right data out and what goes in comes out, right? So staying with you, Moveshen. So let's look ahead a bit. We talk about one source of truth. Let's look into the future. So what's the next steps? There was a lot of waves you've spoken about, a lot of happening. What is the next step in your digital transformation process?
Yeah, so let's get back to that, and maybe just where are we now? I think that's the important question, right? We had a great aspiration when we started, but it's always important to see where we are now in that process. So we've made significant progress in terms of the design and build of our new software that we're implementing. We've faced normal project challenges along the way. I think trying to marry a system with a complex business as ours is never an easy task, and I'm sure many people in the audience can also relate to that. So we're still trying to find that balance between compromising user experience and system functionality. We also need to recognize that we need to learn from our service providers and embrace best practices. And I think that's important as we move forward. We've been so stuck in doing things in a certain way. Our service providers bring best practices because they've implemented some of their solutions across many peer groups. So I think it's important to always look at that and see how we change our practices to align. And with that comes change management, which is an important aspect of any project. So at this stage, we're expecting go live in the new year. And alongside this go live, CDM will be linked to source OneStream data for our statutory and regulatory reporting. And whilst expanding the use cases for CDM to automate and streamline our narrative reporting processes. So that's where we are at this moment. But let me move into wave 2 and what we expect to see there, and then finally wave 3. So in wave 2, this will be the second step change that we see in the business, but here it'll be more in the FP&A space. We expect this to happen probably 6 to 12 months post the implementation of OneStream. And I think it's only normal that you need to resolve teething issues with a new big project, understand the full capability of the new system, and then you start building on the work that was done in the previous wave with a focus shift to initiatives leveraging data and using this in enhanced data analytics, as well as management dashboards. So, whilst we hear and read many developments in this space, we actually have made the decision to be more fast follower and not try and get ahead of ourselves by focusing on too many of the fancier things like AI at this stage. We'll start with the basics and leverage the groundwork that's been produced in wave 1, and we'll focus on the following 3 aspects. A data strategy that will govern and understand the flow of data, predictive data analytics by driving improved analysis of results by including KPIs, which with predictions and sensitivity reporting. And if I can pause here, this talks to the question that was put in the chat, Brian, that you referred to by Devon. If anything, COVID has taught us that running multiple sensitivity analysis and different scenarios is critical for the next wave of FP&A. And we need to be able to do that as fast and as automated as possible, because those requests are coming thick and fast from C-suite management. And then finally, automation of management reporting and dashboards, just to make our current processes more efficient, reduce the risk of error. And I think that's also an area where CDM can play a role as part of Insight software. So we will continue with our consolidation journey and start to look at aspects that require certain development. I think another aspect that I think is critical at this stage is the need for certain skill sets. Whilst we will upskill our current team, additional resources and usage of external experts may be the blended model that we will utilize going forward. We are definitely seeing a shift away from purely financial qualifications. And we're seeing that we need experience in our team to bring in areas like data scientists, programming, and coding experience. And then lastly, wave 3, as I mentioned at the start, this is just a constant review of best practice in industry, maintaining agility and being fit for the future. And this is where we will try our best to do things as better and more efficient as possible and keep pace with the changing business requirements and reporting needs.
Yeah, thanks, Moveshen. It's always interesting to me when this comes up, and I know you mentioned change management, right? There's always a change management. People get a bit scared, and you also mentioned that you're looking to acquire skills and enhance your team. And I know some people may be worried about adopting solutions that streamline their work processes, but often can reduce resources. And I'm talking capital, human resources here. What's your comment on that quickly?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question, Brian. I think, when you've been doing things a certain way and you're moving towards more automation, it's human nature for people to be concerned about, are they still going to be there and will they lose their job because of automation? As I mentioned at the start, we're doing this because the business is growing rapidly and we see the need to actually bring in more resources, but also bring in different skill sets. So no transformation can ever be complete without that consideration of where your team's capacity is at this point in time, as well as their current skill set. So we've already started to look at future skills and that we may need, and we've started to spec what these roles could look like as we plan for these increased resources. So I think it's just trying to get people over the line that there is a role for everyone, but maybe with a different skill set. And that's where we need to transition to, rather than handling data, using data analytics and getting more around that aspect of things so that people can change their skill set to making sure that the information is correct, to rather providing better insights into management using that same data.
Yeah, so essentially, you're enhancing people's capabilities, right? You're enhancing the
Absolutely.
work that they're already doing. Lorraine, just coming to you, a question that I always kind of get is, we shouldn't actually just be moving on this digital transformation journey because our neighbors are, or our competitors are. What are some of the things that we should be looking out for as a business? What are some of the pitfalls or reporting challenges that companies may be experiencing?
So Brian, I would kind of turn it around and say, yes, we have pitfalls to consider in terms of digital transformation. Do we want to move? Are we ready as an organization? Really, are we ready to move forward? I'd rather turn it around and say, what is the 4 key criteria for wanting to move into that digital transformation, for wanting to choose a disclosure management partner that are able to move forward to you. So one of the things that I would say is avoid IT jargon. We speak our own language. IT company suppliers have our own language, and we throw these jargon at our clients and at companies. And a lot of times, everybody speaks about it. It's like Moveshen says AI. Well, what does it mean? What is it going to change in my life? So ask what that IT jargon is around your requirements. I think importantly is look back, understand your current process. What is your current reality? It's textbooks out of Moveshen's story. They needed to understand what their current reality is before you start moving forward. And then sit as a team and say, what is the functionality, my comprehensive functionality I need, not just for today's requirements, but as we're planning on growing. Can my solution grow with me? Where do I want to come out of? So there's a couple of kind of lower points that I'll share with the team afterwards that I'll give to you to upload to the team if you want to. But things like, can you keep me in that tool that always sits next to where I work? Can you keep me in Office that we love, in Excel? So as I said, we use Office as one of the interfaces into our solutions. Avoid pencil downtime. We can't buy time. So try and avoid it in your new process where you go forward. Have that single source of reporting and allow for collaboration in that single source. We've mentioned it consistently through on this period. And, I think probably the 2 last things to me was, how do I automate roll forward? It is one thing that you do repetitively, period after period. How can we automate it? And as one of my clients says today, he makes himself a cup of coffee while his reports are rolling forward. He's not sitting there for a week doing it manually. And being able to integrate and automate your data connectors. Moveshen, I don't know if you've maybe got a couple of things that you want to share onto that at this stage, but to me, that's the main things.
Yeah, Lorraine, I think you've captured it quite succinctly. I think, Certain definitely helped us with those items. I mean, it's really a secure, collaborative, enterprise scaling reporting and process automation solution that we are using. And, if I can just call out 3 areas maybe quickly, and also just in the interest of time, that we are seeing that you guys have helped us with, external reporting. Absolutely. It's made bringing everything together and the whole audit around it a lot easier. The regulatory reporting side of it, which I touched on, especially, XBRL, ESMA, ESEF, and then on the tagging side, CIPC, ESMA, ESEF again. So I think from our perspective, there's also a natural progression that could happen in terms of internal reporting, management reports, board reports, KPI reports, as well as other report types such as treasury. And I know you touched on ESG, previously, and I think this could be an area, in terms of sustainability reporting that could add a lot of value for a lot of companies out there.
Thanks for that, Moveshen. Lorraine, we are right at the top of the hour. I'm going to give you the reins quickly. Perhaps any closing remarks from you for this session, and then I'll give the same to Moveshen.
Thanks, Brian. And guys, sorry for running over. We clearly have a lot to say today. I think the important thing is to find a partner, like Naspers and ourselves. We regard ourselves as partners, you know, as they evolve and change in their environment and change to grow, to keep up with what the world is throwing at them, what the economy is throwing at them. Have partners surround yourself to evolve with you in that journey. Be flexible around things like your data sources, new requirements. Moveshen mentioned it, ESG. I am probably spending half of my time at this stage talking to clients and new organizations around how do we not only automate and streamline that process, but how do we help with the collection and collation of that data, and really kind of do something once. So I have to do it for my ESG report. I have to do it for my sustainability report. While I'm doing it, let's just get my ESG framework completed and submitted as well. Do something once and save that time. You know, all I can say is we need to ensure that the new way of working that COVID and the world has thrown at us, we need to ensure that we can make that way of working sustainable for our clients, to allow them to be as productive and as possible in a remote collaborative environment as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Moveshen, you know, to people listening here, you've been on this journey, you know, been there, done that, you're going through all the waves that you're in. What would you say? What would you say to the audience here as your closing statement?
Yeah, you know, it is a bit of a trial and error. Like I said, you know, we also run into our challenges. We're finding our path, but I think, you know, sticking to the basics, sticking to your plan, and leveraging off the knowledge of some of your service providers, I think will be critical in terms of how things succeed. You know, I just want to maybe conclude, Brian, with a quote that I found that I thought was very apt for this discussion. It was actually by Amit Zaveri, the VP and head of platform at Google Cloud. And he said, think of digital transformation less as a technology project to be finished than as a state of perpetual agility, ready to evolve for whatever your customers want next, and you'll be pointed down the right path. So I think on those wise words, not mine, I'll end there.
Thank you for that, Moveshen, ladies and gentlemen, and that's it. Thank you for the wonderful session, and thanks to Devon. There's definitely a lot of things happening out there at Deloitte. Thanks for the great question. I think you had one more. I'll see if I can get it over to the team. Perhaps I'll respond to you directly on that question. Thank you for that. And there you have it. Thank you for attending the Finance Network webinars. And this one brought to you in partnership with Insight Software. To my esteemed guest, Lorraine Fenter, thank you very much. Moveshen Moodley from Prosus. You can mute yourselves and say thank you and say good afternoon to everybody. And there you go. Lorraine, you go first.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate your time, and we'll be in contact soon.
Moveshen.
Thanks very much for the time, and appreciate everyone listening. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Whoa, what's happening next on the 26th of August? Sometimes I lose track of these days. What is still keeping CFOs as up at night besides their, you know, digital transformation journeys? I'm pretty sure there's still a lot more. So that's all happening on the 26th of August at 11 a.m. and following that on the 1st September. Tax season, right? You know, all those tax disputes. It's a good time to chime in to a webinar with Nico Theron, who's a specialist at Unicus Tax, and Vika Swat. And with that, I would like to say good afternoon, and we'll see you at the next one.